It's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast in what is a late post-match podcast for various different reasons. My potato-powered internet still hasn't been fixed, and also our friend Paddy, who is the birthday boy today, was on his birthday weekend last weekend in London and was at the game. So there was no way I could do a post-match podcast without Paddy coming on to tell us about the game. So we decided we would wait. How's the liver, Paddy?
The liver is complaining a little bit, as is the croaky voice, as you can hear. So, yeah, struggle to. It's been a long 5 days. It feels like a week and a half ago since I went to the Ajax game. So here we are now. A few days later, and it's really good few days. But the liver is complaining, the voice is complaining, the whole family are complaining. But just finished the birthday cake, and happy birthday, Dean Smith, while we're at it.
Happy birthday to Dean Smith also. Yeah, the two men that turned it all around for Aston Villa, Paddy Kelly and Dean Smith, eh? That's what they say. That's what will go down in the annals of history.
Not too sure about my part in it, but anyway, there you go.
Referee intimidation, Paddy. Referee intimidation has turned it all around. But I've forgotten what West Ham Stadium is called. It just completely went out of my mind. The City of London Stadium or whatever is it? What's it called?
Well, it's just called the London Stadium, which is
an
appropriately boring name that you could possibly put in a stadium that is appropriately boring. So it's exactly as the name suggests, completely and utterly boring. The worst away day ever, apart from the fact that you get to go there and meet so many amazing fans of the podcast. I'm not even going to start naming the people that came up and said hello to me for various different reasons. Some to complain, some to say thank you, some to buy me a pint. Lots of different reasons, but I met loads of people on Sunday and Tuesday that watched the podcast. And really good fun. But stadium itself, pretty drab, pretty boring.
And miles away from the field too.
Yeah, well, I watched Max and Simon's video today. They were in the lower tier, didn't seem too bad, but there's this big mad area of just blankness between the upper and the lower tier, and it feels like 50 meters. It's probably 20 meters, but if you look down on it, like you could put a concert stage on it and have a good old concert there. You know, it's big enough for that, but the stadium itself is just not fit for purpose. It's in the middle of nowhere. It felt like 5 mile walk back to the tube station. I know it wasn't 5 miles, but when you're walking back, they have a stop-go system. So very well disciplined West Ham fans stop when they put up the red stop sign. I can't imagine all fans would be as disciplined when they're doing that. But yeah, they stop one road and let one road clear, and then they stop all them, and then they let the next road clear. Really, really weird situation. But yeah, you would think that they build that stadium, they would have built a purpose-built tube station a little bit closer than what it is. I dread to think what it's like for anybody with any kind of disability. I met a few Villa fans with walking aids and what have you in the stadium. So I was thinking about them on that walk back to Stratford Station. But look, at a great day out. I spent the day in the company of Del Boy, who you'd often see in the comments, and Mark Wood and his wife Emma, and my family, and we had a great old day. We started early in the morning in Leytonstone. We met lads there from the Sutton Coldfield Supporters Club, and the busload pulled up, and it was great crack. Looking at the shock on the faces of the people behind the bar as a busload pulls up at whatever 10 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, with great fun. And then we got the tube down to Stratford. We were going to get an Uber because I figured an Uber to drop us closer. And I stopped. I was talking to this West Ham fan, and he said, "No." He said, "If you get an Uber, it'll only bring you as far as Stratford Station, but it'll probably take you twice the length of time to get there. So you'd be better off just getting on the tube." So we got the tube in and rambled up to the stadium. But I think it, like, all in all, between taking the wrong directions and people sending you the wrong way, it took nearly 40 minutes to get from Stratford Station to get into the stadium. So mad stuff. And soulless enough, very, very, very poor atmosphere within the stadium. I loved Upton Park. You really ran the gauntlet going there as an away fan. It was just a mad place to go for an away fan. But the way that they've gone from that to this, a proper old style football ground, exactly like Villa Park. It was just like fellas were sitting on the side of the pitch, just amazing atmosphere in Upton Park. To that must be soul destroying for the fans. And look, I don't know what I can say, but they're getting 60,000 people in there. I think if Villa were to do that, and there's a lot of chat of it lately, of Villa going out by the NEC and doing things like that, I think I'd just throw my hat at it if that happened, because it just takes the soul out of a football club. You look at Manchester City, that was exactly the same when they moved to the City of Manchester Stadium. Bonker stuff. But I suppose success makes the atmosphere better if you're winning trophies, and that will make the atmosphere better. But when you're watching David Moyes football on a Sunday afternoon with very few points on board, the atmosphere isn't as raucous as it could be. Unfortunately for me, I had plenty of, or fortunately for me, I had plenty of points on board because I was celebrating St. Patrick's Day as well on Sunday. So we were out early. So yeah. Mark Wood said that he was with me, as I said, on Sunday. He did 14 kilometers walk on Sunday. So it might have been 5 miles.
I'm actually very familiar with the area in London that West Ham Stadium is in. That's why I was kicking myself when I was blanking on it, is because one of my mates only lives around the corner from Stratford Station there as well. And I stayed with him a couple of times. We used to always go down. You didn't go to the Cart and Horses pub, Paddy, where Iron Maiden, the birthplace of Iron Maiden. You didn't go down there for a few pints. Like you, I went in there one day and I was well on it, and I gave an exhibition of pool, so much so that I had 4 or 5 people. 4 or 5 people. This is the audience I draw, people. I drew 4 or 5 people watching me do trick shots on a pool table. And I'm not even that good. But I was full of the Dutch courage that time. But yeah, I do know the area where it is. And as I say, you could rack up the kilometers and you could rack up the miles walking around there for sure. You absolutely could. But yeah, as I say, and who is it there as well? David Finn even says this as well. He said the architect himself said it's not fit for purpose as a football stadium. I actually, in a previous life, as a lot of you will know, was involved in architecture, and I did look at a study that was done on it, and I'd say it was exactly the same study whereby they said it was not fit to be turned into a football stadium, and that was going back to the time that Barry Hearn wanted to buy it for Leyton Orient. And could you imagine if Leyton Orient had gotten that stadium?
Oh man!
Yeah, look, God loves a trier, doesn't he?
It would have been like Queen's Park playing in Hampden Park, which they still do, even though they've got a purpose-built stadium beside it. But I don't believe there's some kind of politics going on there. I've never investigated it too much. But yeah, it would have been well. You know what? A ground share mightn't have been so bad for Leyton Orient, but 5,000 or 6,000 people going there on a regular basis. Jesus. It's soulless enough now. It would have been that
the echo would have been deafening. Yeah, the echo would have been deafening. But Paddy,
and look, I'll knock it all I like. But if they manage to rectify the atmosphere in there, they've got 60,000 people paying in, and I'd imagine paying quite handsomely to go there. So it will. And I met one guy who had a season ticket for West Ham, who's a Liverpool fan, but he just lives right beside it, and he just wants live football. And lots of people do that, I suppose. There's probably some at Aston Villa. And I'm sure you get a lot of people that can afford to go, and it's just that they use it as a day out, and they're probably not really huge football fans. As you get at Spurs, as you get at Arsenal, as you get at Villa, there was 4 people behind us telling us to sit down in the safe standing area. And I was going, how do you sit down when everyone in front of you is standing. But anyway, there you go.
And I'm going to have the the controversial opinion here as well. As I say, once again, I did a feasibility study on a stadium previously, and we did do preliminary plans in a stadium. I'm not against the new stadium, but I do love Villa Park an awful lot. That's all I'll say on it at the moment. Until more, I suppose, comes to fruition, if there is anything with regards to buying plots of land out near the NEC or anything like that. I don't think it's really worth discussing until we have something concrete on that, if you'll excuse the pun. But Paddy, what we do want to discuss is the actual game itself.
Do we have to?
I guys, I think I watched a completely different game to a lot of people. I actually enjoyed a lot of the game. I enjoyed the tactical battle. I enjoyed watching what Unai had done with the players that he had put out in the field. I'm much higher on how Aston Villa performed, I think, in it than listen back to a lot of the podcasts as well. I was a lot happier in a lot of ways than with how Aston Villa performed, albeit we're still powder puff at set pieces. But I came away from that game going, the ending kind of was great. It was great relief. But I didn't think we were shite, like.
Look, I think I don't want to be too critical. I think for the second week in a row, the team selection has let us down. I've banged the drum so many times about Konza playing in his natural position when he's fit enough. He mustn't like Matty Cash. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Or he's worried about him for some reason. But the game changed on Matty Cash coming in for Clement Longley and Konza going back in. We were a much better side in the second half. And it was a much better watch for me because I'm watching it at a more elevated position. And you know where I sit in Villa Park is nearly right behind the goal. So it's not very elevated. So I don't get a full view. But like I have those tickets because they were what I could afford at the time. And I wanted to be involved in the experience as much as being able to enjoy the football. If I want to watch it back when I go home, I can. But it was enjoyable to watch it at a different vantage point from behind the goal. And yeah, that's the only. I suppose none of us. I didn't meet anybody that was disappointed with the selection of Duran. I think we thought that was ambitious. I think we thought it was going to be attacking. It just didn't work for him. It just failed to materialize for him. Maybe he is that guy that just comes off the bench, all guns blazing, and causes absolute carnage. We don't know. We don't know what trajectory his career is going to go on. It was his first start. I was shocked that it was his first start. I presumed he had started before now, but he hadn't. And look, he just didn't have the same effect as he did on Thursday night, unfortunately. And maybe he will get there in the end. But at the moment, I think if we were without Ollie Watkins, we worry a little bit that he has to start. But he may grow into a really good player, but he was largely ineffective alongside Watkins. And it may have been completely different if it was just him and not Watkins. But we'll never know that, obviously, because he's not going to drop Ollie Watkins. Yeah, but that's my little rant about the team selection. That's the only the only negatives I could see. I thought there were signs of a little bit of tiredness from Thursday night, mainly from passing the ball out from the back. I thought the midfield was very static. I thought the two centre halves were very static when they were looking to get the ball back. They weren't moving into they weren't creating the triangles that they seem to normally do when you're watching it. That was just my opinion from behind the goal. That Dougie Louise was very flat. I thought Longley was caught a couple of times. He's got a couple of times on the ball and a couple of times where they were looking to give him the ball and he wasn't available. I'd have to watch it back now to make sure I got that completely wrong, but that's to make sure I got that right, I should say. But that was my opinion from behind the goal. That's how it looked. And whether that was just a little bit of mental tiredness or physical tiredness from Thursday night, who knows?
Yeah, like watch it in TV. The Duran thing I can completely understand it because understand what he was doing. He was there to occupy defenders, to allow Watkins to come deep, maybe go wide a small bit more, and create that kind of unknown. I think Dan Bardell put it really well and Jacob Tanzel on the 1874 when they said that, Unai Emery has said he wants to try different things, and we do podcasts after we lose, Paddy, and regularly we will see in the comments people will say we've been found out. Aston Villa have been found out, and trying new things like this is good for me. Is the positives I can get from this is that. Yeah, it didn't. Okay, we can talk about it not working and it all changing with Matty Cash going to right back. But when Konza was at right back against City and against Arsenal, nobody was batting an eyelid. We were talking about we prefer him to play in at centre back for sure, and that's not what I'm getting at here. But I think it did in this game at the weekend. It really hinged when he went back into centre back again. The Duran thing, yeah, absolutely. Young player coming in, someone who's look. It was said that he was injured. There was all sort of conjecture around there that he wasn't injured and why he was dropped and so on and so forth. And he like as I say for his first start, he did an awful lot of running around and trying to occupy players, but we couldn't get the ball to stick up there. But I think overall, in the first half, we controlled the game pretty well up until Antonio scored. And the second Antonio scored, we looked like we were like, what's after happening here? And I think it was a poor goal to give away, albeit that cross from Soufal, I've seen a lot of I at the time, and I was guilty of it as well. At the time, I begrudgingly or I didn't give the cross credit it deserved. It was an absolutely brilliant cross, but we've three centre halves looking at it there, and the only man in the box that has any bit of power about him, Mikel Antonio, doesn't even need to do anything to get his head on the ball. And for me, that was the disappointing part. But for me, I'm going to say that was the only real disappointing part in the whole first half for me. Genuinely, yeah. I thought the first half we went there with a plan, and that was to try and own possession, try and stifle, and I thought we were doing that to a good degree. But that goal was just like a sucker punch, it really was. And we can't keep giving those up.
For me, the bigger sucker punch of that goal was if you roll the tape back a little bit further, Longley gets caught in the ball, we lose possession, and Pau Torres has to put the ball out for a throw in.
Boots it out, yeah,
and they score from the throw in. So it was just it all came from their pressure within the box, and the spaces between the pass and just didn't seem right for me in the first half. I thought it was much better in the second half. I thought we worked the ball better out from the back in the second half, but they scored from it. And let's face it, 9 times out of 10, Soufal hits the first defender there, or it lands in Emi Martinez's arms. But what a ball that is across. And fucking Mikel Antonio hasn't scored since August. Of course he hasn't scored since August. It just feels like everybody does that against us, don't they, when they're on a run. Look at bloody your man, Hoyland, or whatever his name is for Man United. Yeah. Goes on a worldie of a run after that. But I hope Mikel Antonio goes on a worldie run when they're playing Spurs and Manchester United or whoever they have left coming up, and do us a few favours.
Absolutely. But like as I said, that goal was a sucker punch. But Villa come back into it, and as you said, the second half was much, much better. I wasn't down on the first half apart from the goal. Yeah, we looked like a team that had played on Thursday. So did West Ham. West Ham looked like a team that had played on Thursday in the first half as well, So it's not like West Ham came out and blew us away from minute one, and we were forced to make changes. I'd nearly go so far as to say those changes wouldn't be made at halftime, or at least not all of them wouldn't be made at halftime if we weren't 1-0 down. But we were, and we went in 1-0 down, and we came out in the second half, and we pushed and we pressed, and we could have been 2-0 down. I've seen the replays for this second goal, Paddy. I'm going to be honest, and I'm sure people are going to scream at me. Like, to me, that I'm not 100% sure why that was chalked off the second one. I can see the one at the very end. Yeah, absolutely, I can see that, but I don't know what I'm looking at completely the wrong thing every time I see the replays in that, because the ball just seems to kind of glide off him with his hands down by his side.
You're talking about the first one, the first disallowed goal.
Yeah, in the second half, the first disallowed one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it obviously hits his hand, and the rule states, although Mikel Antonio was at pains to rule off some rule that I never heard before on Match of the Day afterwards when I watched it back. But the rule states if the ball hits your hands on the way into the net, it's not a goal. That's
true. Yeah,
that's what they've been telling us all along. So the ball hits his hand, it goes in, it can't be given. End of story. Good process here, lads. Job done. No matter how long it takes, they got it right. It hit someone's hand both times, and it went in. I'm sure we get on to the second one. I've a few more complaints about the second one, but to me that was cut and dried. Albeit it was hard to see because it was going through a pile of bodies, but it does hit his hand the way in.
Like if I was a West Ham, like a lot has been mentioned about the one at the death, and people have spoken about the time it's taken. We'll get to that in a moment, but you know, there was 3 handballs in the game. I believe 2 of them. I believe we should have gotten a penalty for the Bailey one. People will disagree with that. That's completely okay. I like if you're going to bring the level of subjectivity that Howard Webb and brought into it when it was discussed on Premier League, that's fine. But there's nowhere in the rules that subjectivity is even stated, and that just blew my mind hearing that. But also, I think that that West Ham goal probably on the basis of what a handball is, that ball is crossed in. Mikel Antonio has no idea where the ball is. It glances off his hand. If he has his hands, if he's holding it, if his hands up here, it glances off the side of his leg. It goes in. Like there's nothing deliberate he's done to handle that ball. I'm glad it was ruled out. Don't get me wrong. It's the great. Why I'm talking about it is it's a greater discussion for the handball rule itself, because I do want to come on to the Bailey one with you, Paddy. Paddy, in the ground, what was the reaction to that? Could you guys even see what happened there?
Well, we just saw the reaction of the players. It was very hard to see because obviously I was a mile and a half away from the action at the other end of the pitch, so it was in front of the home end and not at the away end. So it was hard to see on the day. We presumed it was looked at, and it wasn't as cut and dried as it was when I looked at it back. Now, for how long are we being told about the hand being in an unnatural position? I'm sorry. That's not an unnatural position, pointing at someone to get into a place. So if your hand goes out there and you block a ball, I don't think yet. I think if that's given, it's not overturned by VAR. Let's put it that way. That's
exactly it. And Bardell made that point as well. Like if Emerson at the time, like if Konza was making the run and Emerson was looking at Bailey and Emerson puts his hand up and goes offside like that, and Bailey chips the ball off his hand, do we say, no, he was calling offside? That's not unnatural. You know, it's very natural for a player to put their hand up and call offside, and the ball is kicked off his hand, no penalty.
Yeah.
Like the subjectivity that people are tying themselves in knots. And this isn't me calling anybody out. As I say, everybody's free to their opinion. Like, we're not going to get the penalty now. It's a greater discussion about handball. But there was a lot said on Twitter about, well, if we were to give a handball for that, you know, people can manufacture penalties. What do we think that Bruno Fernandes does every time he goes past someone in the area? He flicks out a leg, gets penalties. Manufacturing penalties, like, I don't know. I just...
The problem...
the mind boggles with that one, I think.
The problem I have is there'll be something very similar before the end of the season, and one of the big clubs will get the decision, and there'll be no mention of it. There'll be no
Matty
mention.
Cash and Matty Cash, was it against against Man City? Was it 2 years ago? Matty Cash is right beside the player. I don't know. It was either. Yeah, I think it was. Matty Cash is his hands like this, trying to get his hands out of the way. Hits his hand, penalty. Matty Cash, the time that Harry Kane, the ball was on the end line, Harry Kane waits for Matty Cash, flicks his leg out, kicks Matty Cash, goes down, penalty. Yeah. Like, it's things like this. Like, it's not. So I would say Leon Bailey was incredibly intelligent to kick the ball off his hand when it was in an unnatural position, because Emerson should have that's why players put their hands behind their backs. Like, Emerson was stupid to point. He was really stupid to point. And because of his stupidity, people are like going, well, you can't do that because, look, he's trying to point at the player. Don't point at the player. Yeah. Don't point at where you want that other person to go when you're in the box. That's your fault. You know, I don't know. It's like saying, well, he was trying to tackle the player, but he missed him, and he kicked or he's trying to tackle the ball, but he missed him, kicked the player. But that's not unnatural, because you'd naturally tackle the ball like this. But he just didn't get the ball that time, and he got the player. Like where are we going with that level of subjectivity is what I just can't understand. And I know I'm harping on this one way too much, because, as I say, it's one of those ones that I can understand why there's a discussion over, but I just think that it is what it is. I think now, but I just don't get the whole the trying to the on the ref watch piece where they tried to explain it away as if we were stupid. That's what I didn't like.
Well,
That's what I didn't like.
That's how it feels to me. Yeah, and you know what annoyed me as well. I don't know how these Premier League rules work, right, or broadcasting rules, but why is he doing this with fucking Michael Owen? Why is he not doing this on the show that everybody fucking watches every Monday night? Why is he hiding in a pre-recorded studio behind Michael Owen? I'll tell you why. Because his name is not Howard Webb. It's fucking Coward Webb. He's a joke shop. Then
There we go. Cut that one up.
Then he sends a video, or PGMOL or Premier League or whoever they are, send the video out. Great, I'm going to get to see this process. I'll decide whether this is a good process. No, I get a transcript of what fucking Coward Webb says to fucking harmless Michael Owen. It's a fucking joke. Like, send us the videos. Where are we supposed to watch these?
Just mic up the VAR decisions and like let us see them make the mistakes. Let us hear why they've made the mistakes, and people would be a lot less. Like, I wouldn't be talking about this for the last 8 minutes. If I'd heard them and they made a mistake, I would have gone, look, that's way too subjective. That's stupid. Whereas at the moment, where nobody knew why it wasn't given, it just said VAR, handball not given. You know, and to me, that's not good enough in a billion pound industry that we have in the Premier League. Also, and I'm not just talking about this with I am talking about with Claret and Blue Glasses now, because I understand the West Ham side of things too. This is a discussion about handball in general, and it's not just about Aston Villa being hard done by. So if there is any West Ham fans watching this, or if anybody's watching this back afterwards, save the comment about the Claret and Blue Villa Glasses for a moment, because I was the one who just said, I don't know, like I can't even be sure whether it hit Mikel Antonio's hand that went in for that goal. Then the one at the end, it takes 5 minutes and 17 seconds or something like that for the VAR check, when Souček does handle the ball.
I never thought I'd be there for a world record. Only I could be in the fucking stadium for the longest ever VAR check.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. It's like they did it on purpose for you, Paddy. Here's a birthday present for that money old Irish fella that's over for the day. Oh, we'll show him. We're going to make him wait so that he misses his train. That's what we're going to do.
And you know what? I'm not contradicting myself, right? Because I have said it so many times. I have no problem how long VAR takes, as long as they get it right. And they got it right. But you can give me an extra chat here because it's my birthday and I'm going to take a little bit longer, right? So Howard Webb says today, and I read it because I had to read the whole fucking transcript. Michael Owen asked him, and was that the sequence the right way? Then it has to go goal scorer first, then offside, then Souček. And Webb goes, actually, there's no real sequence that they have to follow. And I'm like, right, okay. So how about
why are they referencing sequence? So
how about when me and you arrive into the Aston Inn on the 19th of April for our podcast, and we say to Karen, give us a pint of Guinness and 2 pints of Carling, please. What's Karen going to do first?
She's going to pour the pint, because she's a good barmaid, and because they are all good bar people in the Aston Inn. They're going to pour the Guinness first so it settles, pour the 2 Carling and come back to the Guinness.
So, right, we're watching a rerun of this, and like I've started a comment there, right, because what Kieran was in the stadium, right, and Kieran has this up here, right. 2 enormous screams at West Ham, hardly any action shown on them, mainly just advertisements compared to Villa Park when most of the action is shown on the big screen. Fair enough, right? But the one piece of action I saw was after the referee did the whole screen free kick handball, I got 3 seconds of Souček pulling Konza, then handling the ball, and then is it Bowen that hits it eventually? So in that 3 seconds, I saw, okay, there's foul on Konza for a start. So what coward is sitting in Stockley Park didn't go, hang on a minute, Jared, there's a foul on Konza. Come over and have a look at this. It might speed things up. just like pouring that pint of Guinness before we put on the 2 lagers. That makes life so much easier. But Coward Webb has just told us there is no process with VAR.
Del Boy says they were dusting for fingerprints on the ball. Maybe so. But look, as I say, and I know we're going to get tons of stuff on Twitter about giving out about refs again and stuff like that. This isn't. This is like there's 3 big handball incidents that changed the course of this game, and you just have to talk about them. And the only way you can talk about them, and then obviously also with the subsequent ref watch piece that they did afterwards, whereby I genuinely couldn't believe the subjectivity that was being used there. And you guys will know me. Yes, it's usually Paddy that goes on the ref rants, and I let him go on the ref rants. That's because not a lot of the times. I don't even pick up on half the stuff that Paddy does with regards to it. But this one, as I say, there was 3 instances in the game whereby one we could feel aggrieved, 2 West Ham fans could feel aggrieved on. And I think everybody comes away from that game scratching their head after 5 minutes and 17 seconds or whatever it was of VAR. The whole footballing fraternity was talking about it. So it's not like in this instance, we're just, going for the ref. It's a huge talking point in the game as well. And we've given it time, I think, there, Paddy. And I also want to say as well that I've no problem in putting a hand up and saying, in the greater scheme of things, 1-1 draw, take it and run at that stage. Just take it and run, because if that's in the 80th minute, who knows what we do or don't get in the subsequent 10 minutes that's afterwards. So in all the heated hunt and everything that went on, this poor goal we conceded to start, the fact that it took us ages to get back into the game. We haven't even talked about Zaniolo's goal. I've got a lot of good things to say about that as well, by the way. But the handball we didn't get, the handball that we did get against them, that I'm on record as saying, I'll be honest with you, if I was making the rules, that would be a goal for me. And then the Souček one, which I think was a handball and was a free on Konsa, should have been ruled out after 35 seconds as opposed to 5 minutes and 17 seconds. So they didn't make it easy on themselves, is what I would say there. Didn't make it easy on themselves.
And Neil, I know, and people said it to me on Sunday, so I have a reputation for giving out about referees. But I like to think that what I say is warranted. I might go in a lot heavier than most other people do on podcasts because I have a particular dislike for referees over something that happened many, many years ago, and a couple of instances that happened in my own coaching career. And I may or not talk about them in the future, but we'll get to that maybe further down the line when you've got me on stage somewhere and I've a few points on board, then I'll do it. But
that's there. If you haven't got your tickets for the 19th of April in the Aston Social, there you go, lads. Do you want to hear the deep and dirty dark laundry that Paddy has in his basket? There you go.
Yeah, we might have to turn off the cameras for that one. But look, the last thing I want to do sitting here on my birthday is talk about Jared Gillett, the import from Australia, the footballing stronghold of Australia to play football. I don't mean any disrespect to Australian people, but why can they not just get the referees to do their job properly? I really, really, really want to sit here every week and talk about the wonderful, wonderful club of Aston Villa and not talk about PGMOL for a change. It would just be fantastic. And you know what? I try and watch a podcast every week from, last week I watched an Ajax podcast in English and I watched a West Ham podcast. And the week after next, I will watch a Wolves podcast, which I watch regularly because I find them very entertaining. And there's a guy on that's even worse than me and uses more colourful language than I do about referees. And it's all the same. There's a podcast everywhere complaining about the referees, and I know that I'm probably the worst of the Aston Villa people that sit on a podcast to talk.
You
about
are
referees.
Petty. I'm
okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. And I make no apology for it. But I just wanted to tell people that I would much rather not talk about it. I would much rather be talking about football because that's why you want me here talking about football. And I've probably got into the habit of saying it too much. And I met people on Sunday that said, I started watching your podcast because of you talking about the referees and I find it very entertaining. And I'm not joking. That was 4 or 5 people said that to me in person on Sunday. And that's fine. You will get that as long as they keep letting us down. But I hope the day comes that we don't have to keep talking about them. I really don't. And I mean that genuinely. I didn't join this podcast with you to talk about referees. It's just the way it's gone. And because we're football fans and we talk about, well, like we started off talking about what a mad day it was to try and get into that stadium and everything else about it. And we end up talking about eventually talking about the referee. We talked about tactics, we talked about everything. So I would much prefer that the ref watch was just a couple of minutes at the end. Yeah, he was fine. It's just the process of everything that's going on. That second goal that you talk about, the one that hit the hand and went in, there was probably a foul committed by Kudos before he was actually fouled himself, if he was actually fouled himself for the free kick in the first place. So all these things get mixed up, and people forgot that as well. But look, I'm going to put my hands up and say I think at the end of the season we will look back on this as a valuable point. I think it was one we got away with. I think they probably wouldn't have looked at it as if we fast forward 2 weeks to when we're playing Man City and it's dark and it's in the city of Manchester Stadium. They probably won't look as hard at those replays for these handballs. So we don't seem to get the decisions there. But look, I think it was fair enough. The penalty decision itself was seen them given, but more often than not, probably haven't been given. Probably a fair result. But if they're going to say that that's not a penalty, they better not give one to Man United or Man City next week. That's just my opinion on it. They have to be consistent with it. But now they've opened the can of worms because they have said that he can have his hands in another position, and that's okay.
The can of worms is open, I think, with Odegaard fell and had the ball played against his hand, and it actually stipulates it in the rules that even if you've fallen over and your hand is there as a supporting a lever, essentially, as well, that that's like that does count. Anyway, we'll move on from that because I want to talk about Zaniolo's goal, and do you know what? I've completely forgot. I don't know. Can you hear that, Paddy? Can anybody hear crowd cheering? I forgot all about my soundboard. I haven't used it in like months.
Well, I'm glad you turned it off because I couldn't hear you talking.
Oh yeah, well, I haven't used my soundboard in months, and I want to talk about Zaniolo's goal. Number one, so two players that have come in for a lot of stick recently, not from us, I'm going to say, but some people who've come in for a lot of stick is Matty Cash and Nicola Zaniolo, and both of them were the game changers at the weekend. Zaniolo for his goal, and I'll be honest with you, lads. You go down to your football field, if you're any way two-footed at all, and you get somebody to cross the ball into you like that, and you try and take it in stride with your left foot when it's coming across your body and toe poke it into the back of the net, and I can guarantee you'll end up in hospital. That finish, Paddy, was absolutely... Wow. I think that finish was absolutely amazing. Like, I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, he didn't just do that. Now, if that ricochets off somebody and goes up for a corner, I'm screaming at the television going, why didn't you swing your right foot at it? That finish is getting no plaudits anywhere. And it should be lauded. It's a banger of a finish.
The bizarre thing about it was, I had watched that goal maybe 5 or 6 times after the game on Saturday. And then Stephen said to me it was on Sunday. So Stephen said to me on Monday, I've lost complete track of time now. This bank holiday Monday and birthdays and everything has lost me altogether. Stephen said to me, I can't believe he scored that with his left foot. And I went, what are you talking about? He put it in with his right foot. And I had to go back and watch it. It was a special finish, in fairness to him. But as you said, if he'd have fucked it up, he wouldn't be shushing anybody in the crowd anyway, that's for sure.
No. But fair play to him. Like, he was, I thought like against Ajax, I thought he put in a lot of effort running around the field and things, and you know, that I was a lot higher in his performance that day as well. Look, is he going to be here at the turn of the year, at the turn of the season? I don't think so. But can we fault him for a goal against Sheffield United in the last minute and a goal against Luton here, a goal against West Ham here, which have gotten us 2 points in games that we look to have? We would have felt grieved to not have come away with anything from. So, fair play to Nicola Zaniolo. I think that was just a really, really good finish. And hey, there's a lot more games. There's a lot more to be written before the end of the season, and I'm sure he's going to write 1 or 2 paragraphs into how this season ends himself as well. We need all the bodies we can get. We need them all.
I think we all want to see something along the lines of what Roma got out of him last year. And if he can reproduce that between the now and the end of the summer, it's going to be hard not to sign him for the money that's been reported we'll get him for. At the moment, I don't think he has enough money in the bank for us to go and buy him outright at the end of the season. But, son, there's 10 games left for you to go and elevate us and elevate yourself into folklore of Aston Villa, because if he fires us into the Champions League, and hopefully this will fire him on, but if he fires us into the Champions League, he will go up there in everybody's estimation. There's fairly average players came through this club and kept us in the Premier League that are held in much higher esteem than he is, and he could fairly well pass them out if he fires us into the Champions League, and please God, I hope he does.
Yeah, and also Dave Dwyer mentions about the block from Cash as well. Yeah,
now that was my highlight of the game. That was my highlight of the game. That was
as Roy McKeown said from Up the Villa podcast, as he said, like he went cock first at it, and he actually did. But the best thing for me was the big celebration afterwards. It was like he knew that was a saver. He knew James Ward-Prowse is there. He's going to probably bend it in the top corner or put it in the bottom corner. I need to throw my absolute body at this, and he put his line of succession in the line of fire there, and came out of it in the right side. So fair play to Matty Cash. Really great block. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it was a huge moment for him as well, because the crowd went wild when he did it. So it was an absolutely amazing block to get across and make the ground. And as you say, put your body on the line and go cock first. Absolutely brilliant. Fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of those points. And Paddy, you mentioned about, or it's often mentioned about points. What's that point going to look like at the end of the season? And I think it's fair for people to say. I actually saw a comment there. I don't know, it might have been from yourself, Scott. It's back a small little bit there. I can't actually go back that far because my comments, when they move on, I can't go back to the very start. But I've seen a couple of people mention, we haven't really been playing well since Christmas. And I think there's an argument to be made for that. We haven't been playing the same way we did before Christmas as we did after Christmas. And I think there's a lot of different factors at play there. Teams finding us out in certain instances as well. Injuries at play, and extra workload, I suppose, since Christmas. But what I wanted to highlight here was Omar, that used to do podcasts and the Villa Talks podcast, and also was on the now defunct Villa View when myself and he was on with myself a couple of times, and with Dan Bardell as well. He did this little study into the points per game as the season has gone on, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. And I know that might be a small bit blurry, but I do apologize. I'll try and talk it through with you. So as each game is played, he has quantified what the points per game are as we go down through the season. And also what he's quantified here is what the rolling 5-game points per game is here. And I think this is really interesting to see how we've only really had one blip during the season, but we've been incredibly consistent with the amount of points, how we've come back, got more points afterwards, and are currently for the whole season in and around 2 points per game. 1.93 points per game, to be precise. And even after we beat Man City and Arsenal, there, we were after we beat Brentford, we were at 2.24 points per game. So, obviously, that was the zenith of our season so far. It was a really great run of form with 3 wins in a row. There, we hadn't lost since the Forest game, and things were looking really, really rosy. And as we go down through here, we can see that we've only lost 2 games really since. We've only lost 3 games since Boxing Day or since Stephen's Day here, and they were to Newcastle, Man United, and Spurs. And I know the argument can be made as well that they're the top 6 sides in and around us that we should be beating, but we're coming back from those games and we're beating the teams that we should be beating. Some of them fortuitously, some of them in the dying minutes of games, like against Luton and so on. But we're keeping our points total up, and when we look at when you look at other teams as well and their points total, it hasn't been done, but I think it would be worth doing this over the course, maybe later on in the week, to look at maybe Spurs and Manchester United. I know Man United are averaging 1.7 points for the season so far, in and around that, and Spurs are averaging 1.8 something. I think, if I just did it very roughly today. So even though we feel like we've been on a poor run of form, or we've been on a run of form, like I've heard people say the wheels have come off, pundits that is. There was a Sky Sports thing to say, are Aston Villa concentrating? I can't remember what way it was put, but it was like, are we concentrating too much on the Conference League? And the statistics are here to show that we're not. We're actually very consistent throughout the course of the season when it comes to getting back up on the horse after losing games and keeping our points total throughout the course, our average points total throughout the course of the year, pretty static at in and around 2 points per game, which is absolutely excellent and something that we should be looking at. Now, saying that, we still have 10 games to play, or 9 games to play throughout the course of the rest of the season. I predict 4 wins. I predict 3 wins actually gets us 5th place. I predict 4 wins and a couple of draws in there will get us 4th place. But either way, it's going to be a roller coaster last 9 games of the season. And I'm hoping that if we seal 5th place against Bournemouth on the 21st, well, whatever the Sunday, I suppose it is now, the 21st of April, I will be doing some celebrating, and I'll have to be wheeled onto the plane for my flight that evening home. That's a guarantee, because 5th place looks like it's going to get us Champions League. And I'll be honest, Paddy, I don't care whether we finish 4th or whether we finish 5th. Obviously, I want to finish 4th, but I'm not going to be spitting fire if we finish 5th this season and still end up in the Champions League, because at the end of the day, pick which hand you would have given to finish Champions League only 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 seasons ago, however long it was. So that's my soliloquy on where we're going from a points per game point of view. Yes, the product in the field has evolved. It's different. It's not as swashbuckling. It's not as it's not like a firecracker like we were at times against West Ham earlier on in the season, against Brighton. We haven't had many of those games. Sheffield United, we haven't had many of those games recently, but we're still grinding out what we need to grind out, and we're doing stuff that we need to do. So that's a nice little positive, I think, to bring us home on, Paddy.
Yeah, it is a positive, and I have to admit, was it yesterday morning Omar shared that?
Today. It was today, yeah.
Well, I must have been still struggling today, because I looked at it and went, I can't make head nor tail of this. But when you put it up on the screen there, it did look fairly straightforward. Maybe it's because I was trying to squint and look at it on my phone. Neil, someone sent me put a comment in there saying that, come on, Paddy, we want Stephen to come back online.
Yeah,
now,
I meant to say that to you.
I have a little bit of news, because I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, so I'll keep it short and sweet. But myself and Stephen did used to do the women's podcast. It was a tough watch for a lot of the season we were doing it. But who would have thought that when you lived in the same house as someone, it became very difficult to do a podcast together, when I could manage to do it with you 3 or 4 times a week. But
you love me more than Stephen. That's just obvious. You've just told everybody in the internet.
There you go. But there's a couple of people that have come forward that go to the women's games that are looking to get involved. So that's going on in the background. Whether it happens before the end of the season, I don't know. But I think it's important we get them on, and we'll probably do some kind of review of the season, and then
100%.
maybe we'll roll it into next season, especially after on Sunday, myself and Stephen met Alicia Lehman at the match.
Oh, I had the picture and everything ready to go. Keep talking there. I'm going to have to find it.
You haven't got it.
I had it ready. I meant to just fire it up randomly and take it down again like a little spoil. I'm not with it.
Look what Mark says. Have we spoken about Paddy hanging around outside the toilets at West Ham? Because I spotted Douglas Louise's family, and I said to everyone that was with me, including Mark Wood, if they're waiting outside the women's toilet, it must be Alicia Lehman that's in there. And sure enough, she was. And she came out and took photographs with Stephen and myself and my daughter, and everybody was very, very happy. And off they went.
Oh, I can't find the photograph now. Damn,
Good.
I had it saved and everything there. I was just
I'll
going to
share it on
flash it up.
Twitter.
Yeah.
I'll share it on Twitter.
Yeah.
People can make their own mind
Paddy
up.
was
How
was in
happy I
his.
look.
I have. Yeah. Do you know what? You don't need to. I found it. Where's it gone to? I'm after saving it there now. Oh no.
I worry
There we
about how
go.
you get these things up so quickly.
There's a lot of double entendre in that one, Paddy. I think given about that's not what it is. I need to stop screen, present. Yeah, so just for those of you who are wondering, and there you go. There's Paddy there now, and the wonderful Alicia Lehman. So is that Douglas Luiz's brother in the background, by the way, as well?
It is.
Just over her right shoulder. Yeah, you couldn't mistake him. Couldn't mistake him. He's the absolute bulb off him. There you go, the fella over there on the right hand side. But watch the smile on Paddy's head. Yeah, fair play. And fair play to her for stopping and taking a photograph. You know,
she was great. She didn't say an awful lot, but she posed for anybody that wanted photos, and fair play to her.
Absolutely, yeah, wonderful stuff. So I'm sure she's showing that photograph to everybody, going, "Watch this fella. This is the guy who gives out about the refs. I got a photograph with him."
And Neil got up that quicker than VAR.
Didn't take me 5.17 minutes to get to bring that up on screen. Sure, it didn't. No, it certainly didn't. But yeah, look, that's two positives, I think, to finish the podcast on. And for anybody of you who are watching it on or listening to it on audio podcast, go back and watch it on YouTube. You'll be able to see the photograph there as well. But Paddy, I didn't think we'd get 15 minutes out of this podcast, never mind 51. I've actually enjoyed the chat today, I think, because as I say, we've 2 weeks here now before
international duties on the way.
Yeah, international duties on the way. And for once, I'm going to enjoy it. I don't know why.
I get to watch Yuri Tielemans in the flesh again on Saturday.
I think hopefully. I think it's I think I'm going to enjoy it because we've got an interim manager here in Ireland, and it looks like he's picked a couple of players that we're going to see for the first time. So I think that novelty is going to be good. But I hope all the rest of you guys enjoy it. I hope we go and we watch all the Villa players come back safe and sound and ready, I suppose, for the last 9 games of the season. We'll try and get a couple of people on. I've been speaking to one or two people to see if I can get them on the podcast over the next week or so. My internet is still a massive issue in the house at the moment. We should have an electrician coming to actually properly wire up my podcasting boudoir soon. But so I'm not going to commit to doing an awful lot of podcasting over the next 2 weeks. I prefer to get it all sorted and then not be running the risk of having potato powered internet again. But yeah, I will keep you guys abreast of the situation on Twitter, and we'll work it from there. But I do have one or two people that wanted to come on and wanted to chat, and people I've been chatting to in DMs, some journalists and stuff like that. So if we can get them on, we absolutely will. Because it's nice to talk to people who aren't necessarily Aston Villa fans about what their view of Aston Villa is as well, I think, which is good. John Fraser, thanks you very much for that. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
That gonna do it.
Dan H is saying that the supercomputer from the start of the season gives us 3 more wins and a draw. Well, this supercomputer here has us 3 more wins and a draw, but then, Paddy, we go on that absolutely horrible squeaky bum time run to the end of the season where we don't win until Palace on the last day. That was my prediction, that we would beat Brentford, Wolves, Bournemouth, and that would actually get us 5th place at that stage. And I made that prediction before the... which game did we play first? Was it Luton or whoever we played first in that run of 3 before the Fulham game? That was my prediction. But so let's see who's right and let's see who's wrong. But it all does start again with Wolves the next day, and that's going to be a tough game.
Yes, it does. Thanks everybody who said happy birthday in the comments. I did see them all, but put them all up. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, and thank you everyone for watching. And for anybody who's listening back to this, as I said, we will hope to have some podcasts over the next couple of weeks. will be all internet dependent again. The internet sorted out here, but in the meantime, everybody, go and enjoy your break. And here's a point for Paddy and his birthday from Kieran O'Callaghan. There you go, Paddy.
But
But
Kieran
enjoy
bought me a pint on Sunday, and I couldn't find him, so he had to drink the two of them. It was very sad, wasn't it?
It's awful sad. Yeah, I'm sure he'll never forgive you for it. But yeah, we're going to leave you on that, everybody. Stay safe over the next 2 weeks. We'll be back. I will be back in the next couple of days, all right. But there won't be anything imminent, so keep an eye out on Twitter for stuff there. But stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.